It's time to go back to the beginning. It's 1995, and a brand new console is coming out to try to get some of that sweet, sweet gaming pie from Nintendo and Sega. Nintendo is rocking hard with its steady yet aging Super Nintendo. Sega is innovating with the first true 32-bit system, the Sega Saturn. People are looking at Sony with wide-eyed perplexion. Others have tried to take the pie from Nintendo and Sega before. NEC tried with the TurboGrafx 16. They failed. Panasonic tried with their 3DO. They failed. Philips tried with the CDI. They failed hard. Now Sony thinks they can do it. Well, as it turns out, they could. What was their secret? Well, quite simply, they had great games at reasonable prices. Quality combined with quantity combined with reasonable prices equals success. That may not be fair to the TurboGrafx 16 as it also had those qualities, but they can't all be winners. Here are the top 10 best-selling PlayStation 1 games. Number 10, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back sold 5.17 million copies. That's a lot of copies. The Crash games take place on some fictional islands by Australia. The big bad villain Dr. Neo Cortex wants to be a hero, so he captures Crash and gets him to collect some crystals to help save the world. At least that's what he tells Crash. Crash is a heroic dumb guy, so he falls for it and helps collect crystals for the good doctor. This is a cutesy platformer that can either be really fun and easy if you don't care about the collectibles, or really challenging if 100% is what you seek. Both casual and hardcore players can get a lot out of this.
That is all I will say for now.
Number 9, Tomb Raider 2. Tomb Raider 2 was a huge deal back in the old days. Sure, you can count every polygon on her body, but this was a huge feat in graphical engineering in 1997. Her textured polygons turned on a generation of young men and inspired a generation of young women. Inspired them to do what? It's hard to say, but it was a good enough platformer to sell 5.24 million copies. For many, this is the definitive title in the Tomb Raider library. Number 8, Final Fantasy IX. Final Fantasy was huge on the PlayStation. There were 3 mainline entries with 7, 8, and 9. Combined, they sold almost 23 million copies. Final Fantasy IX took the series back to its medieval fantasy roots with this masterpiece RPG experience that, in this ranker's humble opinion, is the best of the 3 released on the PS1. Or you could check out our last video, the best Final Fantasy list, to see where it ranks in the series. Final Fantasy IX is a true classic and will be loved till the end of time. It sold 5.3 million copies. Number 7, Metal Gear Solid. Tactical,
You talk too much.
espionage,
You haven't even taken the safety
action.
off, rookie.
Those
I
were the
told
words
you
that
I'm
greeted
no
gamers
rookie.
when they booted up the classic Metal Gear Solid.
You're not one of them,
Metal
are
Gear
you?
has an excellent and deep story combined with award-winning stealth gameplay.
Open that
The
door.
brainchild of Hideo Kojima.
You've got a card,
Metal
don't
Gear
you?
would delight
Why?
fans for many years to come.
Straight.
Metal Gear to most fans is now dead with the exit of Kojima from the series, but we will always have 5 excellent main games with some decent side stories and spin-offs. The original Metal Gear Solid sold 6.03 million units.
Please.
Number 6, Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot is back on this list with his original outing. This early Naughty Dog adventure literally took the world by storm. It sold 6.82 million copies and made Naughty Dog a company to watch. After the PS1 Crash games, they released the Jak and Daxter trilogy on the PS2. They weren't done with that because the next generation they brought the Uncharted series. Naughty Dog is bank, and unlike so many other studios, they haven't really damaged their goodwill with shady practices and microtransactions. Keep it up, Naughty Dog. Be that beacon of light and right. Number 5, Crash Bandicoot 3. Number 5 on this list will seem quite familiar if you remember number 6 and 10. After the first 2 Crash Bandicoot games, gamers just wanted more. They all collectively rose their arms to the heavens and cried, "More Crash!" This was before the internet, so people had to resort to more extreme methods, such as prayer and sacrifice, when they wanted the studios to release sequels to their favorite games. Crash 3 sold 7.13 million units. Number 4. Final Fantasy VIII. Final Fantasy VIII existed. It also sold 7.86 million copies. Okay, moving on. Number 3. Final Fantasy VII. For many gamers, this is the game. This is the game that sold them a PlayStation. This was the game that everybody was talking about. It was the topic that brought the jocks and the nerds together, even if only for a short time. Final Fantasy VII was a masterpiece RPG that made RPGs mainstream in the West. This was the reason that the original PlayStation had as many RPGs as it did. Everybody loved Final Fantasy VII, and the sales numbers proved it. It sold a staggering 9.72 million units. Number 2. Gran Turismo 2. Gran Turismo 2 came out in 1999 and took over the hearts of racing gamers all over the world, except areas where video game systems weren't sold, such as some tribal nations. Those tribal kids were really missing out though, because Gran Turismo 2 had realistic designs and physics. The controls were very responsive and the game was very challenging. There were over 500 cars and over 20 tracks. I knew some people who had put in over 500 hours into this game. This game really came and dominated. It also sold just shy of 3 million copies, so yeah, it was kind of a big deal. Number 1. Gran Turismo. The only game that did it better than Gran Turismo 2 was its daddy Gran Turismo. When this title dropped in 1997, it wowed gamers with its realistic cars and gameplay. Unlike most console and arcade racing games, Gran Turismo went realistic. Gamers were treated to real-looking cars and driving that really put you behind the wheel of F1 racers, muscle cars, concept cars, trucks, and so much more. Gran Turismo sold 10.85 million copies. So that is the best-selling PlayStation 1 games. Are there any games on this list that took you by surprise? Or maybe you thought your favorite games, such as Medieval, had to be in the top 10. Let us know down in the comments and join us next week for another top 10.